Hi everyone, it's Jennifer Zimmermann from ModernColoring.com, and you are probably here right now because you've seen some of my other stone tutorials and pearl tutorials. Anyway, welcome back. It's good to have you here. And at this time, I'm going to show you how to create a squared off stone, which is sort of like a rounded square stone like you see here and here. I'm going to be filling in this little one right here with an amethyst, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to do. And something that I've been saying about creating these stones in my other tutorials is, you may recall, is that one thing we have to establish, something that really does help, is a light direction. The light direction kind of dictates what the stones are going to look like, and it's really important to keep that global. So I'm going to show you that I have my light coming from this direction, and the reason that I say that, the way that you know where the light is coming from, is by looking at the highlights. So the highlights are falling upon the edge right here, which is the lower right edge of each one of these stones here, and I want to continue that to make this sort of have a global light effect, okay, if that makes any sense. So right here I'm going to do my amethyst stone. To create my amethyst stone, I'm going to be using a combination of colors. I'm going to show you these in one sec. So I have a variety of colors. You can use what you have. I am using Prismacolors today. I'm used to using them. They're my standard. However, I have recently used some other pencils too that I also liked. But these are what I'm using for today. So I've got this hot pink color, which is PC993. I have lilac 956. I have Parma Violet 1008. Violet itself, which is 932. And black 935. Whoops, sorry. And violet blue, which is 933 if I haven't already said that. And my colorless blender pencil. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be using. I also have on hand a white jelly roll. And I usually keep right next to me my Mono Zero, which is a pen style eraser, or a piece of kneaded eraser. All of these supplies you're looking at right now, as I've said in my previous tutorials, can be found on my website at ModernColoring.com. If you go to the shop tab, there is a recommended product tab, which will just bring you to links on Amazon because I am an affiliate. So I'm going to get started today, and this is actually really simple. Once we get started, it's going to go quickly. So make sure that your pencils are sharpened. I'm using my T-Gall. And you have to keep them sharp. That's part of the deal here. So the first pencil that I'm going to start with is going to be my lightest one, which is my pink. And the other lightest would probably be my lilac. So they're sort of around the same value, which means darkness. Make sure that your pencil is decently sharp. If it's not, give it a whirl. And I always have my T-Gall set at the highest setting because I like my pencils to be long and sharp. Okay, so here we go. Since the light is coming from this direction going this way, I need to establish where my highlight is going to go. That's the first thing I'm going to do. So if I'm looking at this stone here, which I'm going to zoom in a little so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. Hopefully my zoom will allow me to go back and forth a little bit. If not, I apologize. I'm going to do my best. I was having a little difficulty yesterday. No, it's not working out again. So anyway, so what we're going to do is I'm going to create the light coming from this direction here. And what happens is when light hits an object that is translucent, it travels through the object and comes out the opposite side. So what you're seeing here is that effect. So here's where the light is hitting, here's where it's coming out. So the most intense color is going to be on the back end. The darkest color is going to be on the front. That is the formula for creating translucent stones. So if we're talking about cabochon style stones, like these round ones here that are roundish, domish shape here, that is how you achieve that effect. And you have to keep that in mind anytime you're making stones. It's really important. The other thing to keep in mind is that your highlight is going to go on top of the darkest area. I see a lot of people who render stones or attempt to render stones when they're coloring stuff, and they get the formula wrong. They're putting their highlight over here. Their highlight doesn't go over here. Their light coming out the opposite end does. So you have to keep that in mind. Okay, so here is my hot pink. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, since my light is coming from this direction, I'm going to make a highlight that kind of goes along with the edge of my shape right here. I'm just going to mark off an area that I'm going to leave white, if that makes sense. Okay, so this is going to remain white. Everything else is going to have color to it. Okay, and I actually don't even think I sharpened my pencil enough. Now, if you ever go too dark, something you can do is use your kneaded eraser. To clean it, you have to stretch it. Make sure you're using a clean one. Push down on the spot that you want to pick some off, and you can see a little trail of pink on my eraser where I got some of that off. And that's just going to help get, if I've used a little too much, it's going to help get it off. Okay, so now, again, this is the only area that's going to stay white. And all of my highlights, by the way, are going to be a different shape because it depends on where the light is hitting that shape. If it's round, they should all be similar. But here, the light is hitting straight on this edge here. So we're just going to see a straight line. Whereas here, it's right at that bend. Okay, if that makes any sense. So here we go. We're going to start on the top corner. And by the way, this is a little different than the pearls that I've done. We are going to be using light pressure on the end where the light is coming out, and then we're going to use more pressure as we build up layers on the other side. But I want you to go fairly light when you're doing this part over here. Right now I'm kind of going in little circles because it's a large space, but as I get closer to the edges, I kind of like to go directionally. And I'm not pushing real hard, you guys. Keep it light because we actually have to have a little bit of the white paper showing through. And oftentimes I have people ask me, why do you keep your pencil so sharp? And that is because if you'll notice when you sharp, you can try this out while I'm talking. If you use a blunt pencil on a paper that has any tooth, which is texture to it, you'll get little white areas. We don't want that. We want it to be nice and smooth, okay? So something else I might do is I might go over the same area twice using a different direction, just so I'm hitting all those little white areas. And I will go back and resharpen as needed. Okay, so there's my pink. I'm putting my pink away. Now I'm going to move on, and I'm going to actually use my Parma Violet, which is my 1008. And for my Parma Violet, I'm actually going to sort of sculpt, this is sort of like a boomerang shape right here, right? This shape right in here, if you can picture that. So I'm going to sort of move away from that with this color going in little circles towards the light. So I'm kind of filling this in as I go this direction towards the bottom of the shape, the bottom right-hand corner of the shape. Little by little. And I don't want there to be like a stark outline here, so I'm kind of trying to blend it a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, I'm also going to go on the back side of this shade, the edge of it, and I'm gonna outline it just a bit. Like that. So the most intense colors are gonna be right in here. I'm moving on to my violet. Make sure it's sharp. And my violet, I'm going to, I think I over sharpened this a little bit. By the way, if you over sharpen, you'll know because you'll break your point right when you get started, which can happen. So if you need to soften it a little bit. That will help so you don't break it, okay? So now I'm gonna use my violet and I'm gonna go all the way up to my highlight, but not pushing hard still, toward, sort of angling back and forth towards that boomerang that I created. And I'm going around the highlight too, because this is all going to be fairly dark over here in the end. I'm trying to keep the thickness of this highlight the same so I can sort of carve it out by going around it with this darker color if it's not even. Okay, so here we go. I'm just going to intensify a little bit more by adding another layer of this, going towards the lilac that I've already put down. And I'm going to go around that edge just a little with this violet. Okay, now you're starting to see it look like glass, right? Pretty cool. We're going to intensify it a little bit. Now here's the thing with black. Black is a dull color. It doesn't have, it's a neutral-ish color, so we're not going to see color coming from it, but it's dark. So we need darkness first and foremost. And then I'm not pushing too hard yet, okay? I'm going pretty light with this. I'm actually only using it like it's a gray because I do need to put another layer, another coat on here. So I'm going around my highlight lightly. And I'm going to build this up a bit, working toward the violet that I just did. Now this is going to dull that violet, which is not what I want because this color stones are rich in color. So I'm going to go back in with my violet and do another coat, which is why I'm not pushing too hard yet, because if I push too hard in the very beginning, I'm going to fill up the tooth of my paper with the wax and I won't be able to do anything else with it, which is not what I want. So now I'm going back over this again, all the black areas, to add a little bit of color because we need it to be intense. Okay, so now that I have that established, I can go a little bit harder with my pencil. I'm actually putting a little pressure on it now. Okay, and I'm going to use a little bit of this violet blue, just a little, to intensify some of the areas of black. With a little bit more color. I'm just infusing them with a little bit more intensity. You're really not going to see a huge difference, but I'm a perfectionist and this is how I was taught. Okay, so now we've got that done. So I'm going to go back into my pinks and my lilacs and I'm just going to intensify them just a little bit more. We can really add to it a little bit now. And I like to use my pink sometimes to actually go into the darker color to blend the two together. You can kind of use your lighter colors as a blending stick, you guys. I don't know if you realize that. But your blender, your colorless blender, will actually change the colors of your pencils a little bit. And this is a little bit less dramatic sometimes. Okay, so there's that. Now I'm going to just use the one color I haven't used yet, which was my Perma Violet. I'm going to use this one like a true blender and kind of get in to all those little spots in between these colors here. Kind of like that. If you'd like, you can use your colorless blender to try to even out some spaces. I would be very careful though that you go mostly directionally when you use your colorless blender. You can really easily overdo it with a blender. So I'm going around the shape and I'm going to go along this highlight here I'm not doing too many little circles. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then I'm just going to soften my highlight a little. It's a little too abrupt in my opinion. Some people like to have a little bit of like a little dot shape that runs alongside their highlight, kind of like that, so you can break up this space like that if you want. And intensify the color around it. So we've gone over this black now with violet to really push the color while maintaining the darkness, if that makes any sense. Okay, and that's pretty much how you do it. That is my formula for creating squared off stones. You can use the same formula for doing any kind of stone if you have a range of light and dark colors. And as long as you know how colors work, which colors are more intense than others. So I hope you've enjoyed this today. If you'd like to see more of my tutorials, you can go to my YouTube channel on ModernColoring.com, and I'm sorry, for ModernColoring.com. It's Modern Coloring, I believe. And yeah, hope you enjoyed and would love to see your posts. Feel free to go to my artist page, which is ModernColoring-Jennifer Zimmermann, and post your beautiful creations there. Thanks. Bye-bye.